Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back, and as always, huge massive thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. So coming back in with the free kit from Crafting with Hunkydory Magazine number 86. This one's a beautiful one called A Splash of Colour. It's the third little set I've worked through. This one's called You Brighten My Day, which matches the die, the free die that comes with it as well. And I thought I'd use up some of those beautiful acetates today as well. So on this one, we've got all of these animals here. We've got the Highland cow, obviously cat love, so the beautiful horse. We've got our normal cow here. A normal cow, like, you know, it's just a regular cow. I mean, it could be a female version of that or one that's been shaved down. I don't know. But it's a cow anyway. And then we got our little pig. Love pigs. We've got a You Are Truly One of a Kind, a happy birthday wish, you brighten my day in every way, just to say, and then we've got a little pig button topper there and a border, so just everything there that you could think of. You've got a beautiful splash of yellow with these wavy borders on there, perfect if you wanted to do a wavy bordered card. The foiled cardstock, which I just adore. I just want plain cardstock with all of this on. It's that beautiful splash of gold distress. There are two acetates, and I've just bought one, but I do need the other one. So let me just grab that one. Oh, it's going to hide from me now. There you are. That's the distress one. Actually, no, I'm not. I changed my mind, that's why I've left that one out, but I love this one. I'd love a pack of this on its own as well. And I did get around to printing the inserts, and this is the one I'm going to be using. So let's pop those to the side, and I'm going to be making, for the first card, the easiest way to use acetate is to make a sort of cutaway card. So I'm going to do a 5x7 cutaway card. So if I start by taking this to 5 inches, this is a piece of A4 Ink Me cardstock. I think it's around about 300 GSM. It feels the same as my other cardstock anyway. And then I'm going to take this to, do I want to go 1.5? Yeah, I'm going to go 1.5. So we want 7, 8.5 in length. And then I'm going to take this leftover piece and take that to 1.5. So these pieces will go into my bit box. They're perfect for stamping, all of those sort of things. Let's pop that out of the way for a second. And if I bring in the scoreboard on the inches side, and then I'm just going to put a score line in for the halfway point of my card, which that's 1.5. So I'm doing these narrower borders on the top and the bottom. Usually I do about 2 inches, but you can do anything from 1/2 inch to 3, whatever, you know, just leave that tiny gap there if that's what you want. That is going to be, when we pop this back together, that will be our card. And I am going to be using that really big topper, so that's why I know that's going to be perfect on there. So let's pop this little arm out again. All these little black hairs come from somewhere, not quite sure where. Okay, and I've got a piece of A4 gold mirror. I'm going to do a piece for the back, which is going to be 2 notches under the 5 by 2 notches under the 7. If you can hear the pizza motorbike, he is quite noisy. And then this piece here, is that perfect? It's 1.5 minus 2 notches. Perfect. And I am going to be naughty. No, I'm not actually. Let me pop that to the side. Let me bring something out of my bit box rather than cutting into another piece. So if I take this is gold, isn't it? Yeah. If I take this to 2 notches under the 5 by 2 notches under 1.5, and that's going to be our piece for the top. And then if I bring in that acetate, I am going to cut this at just about 1/2 notch under the 5. Just gives me a little bit of wiggle room to get that straight. And this gap between here, between these pieces here is, let's bring that down. Take these pieces out a second. So these 3 should be about 4 inches, I think. Yeah, so around about 4. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to be generous and cut that to 5, like 5 1/4. And then I've got another piece there that I can use if I've got a smaller gap. That should be perfect for there. Shall I do the other bits of cutting? No, we'll leave those for now. Let's pop these pieces on. Let's reconstitute the card. And then we'll come back and revisit these layers. I'm just making sure the cardstock is the same way. So it is slightly whiter on one side. And I'm going to use some red liner tape to attach this, if I can find the end. And I'm going to just pop this not right up to the edge, because I am still going to have that little white border coming through. I have a magnetic hook on the side of my desk, and I have quite a few magnetic hooks actually, but I keep the little plastic wallet with my gold pieces in and the red liner tape next to my desk, and that works for me. So I'm going to take just a tiny bit of this off. It's just come up into a little bauble, so let me just get rid of that. So it just came up, and then when I pressed it down it kind of all glued together, so it would have made a little lump. So I've just cut that little piece off. I am going to pop some tacky glue under the corners. Now I find tacky glue and acetate, it will stick it, but not reliably for a long period of time. Oh, that doesn't want to come out. Let me just grab a pin. There we go. That should be better. There we go. But with the support of that red liner tape, it's going to work quite nicely. So if I turn this around, I'm going to pop that on there just to make sure I get this in the ballpark area that is going to go over both. And we want that as straight as we can. And then I can press that down, pop that off, and that's going to be stuck under there. This piece is a lot easier to stick down. And if you're having a problem with your the cover of your red liner tape sticking to you, use a glass jar. They do the stick to the glass jar. So all I'm doing for this piece is just making sure I'm square on the bottom, and then I can just simply fold that down, and that's my card reconstituted. At the moment it feels a little wobbly, a little insecure, but once we get all of the pieces on, that's going to be fine. Right, so let's just go back to doing the layers. So we did the gold, which was 2 notches under the 5 by 2 notches under the 7. We did these gold for the fronts, which is 2 notches under the 5 by 2 notches under the 1.5. Now I'm going to grab the insert I printed. This is going on the inside, so it's got a white edge to it. I did try doing it fit the page and it still came up the same thing, so I left it at that. So I'm going to cut it at 4 3/4, and there are 25 inserts when you download them. If you go onto the Hunkydory Hub, just sign in and go onto the downloads, and I think the first one I came to was these inserts for magazine 86, and it says there's 24, but when I downloaded it there was 25. So you've got all of these beautiful patterns. You've got the beautiful patterns with the animals, and then you've got the animals on their own as well, I think. So they've given us the best of both worlds with this, and you could even just print them out and use them as cards really. But this I'm cutting to 6 3/4. Oops. That's going to go on the inside of there like so, and I printed that out. I've got just a little Canon printer, wasn't super expensive. It has compatible inks in. I don't even use the Canon inks anymore, but it's one of those ones where you fill up the whole tank rather than buy a cartridge. Okay, so for these 2 bits here I am gonna excuse me, use the cardstock. So I'm going to take this to 4 3/4, and then I need to take 2 pieces that are going to be 1 1/4, and I'm just going to take a piece of this foiled at the top, and then I think I'm going to take the plain piece off the bottom. That leaves me a nice piece with some foiling on as well. You could use all foiled if you wanted to. There is a lot of foiling. We've got that foiled acetate as well, so you know, you can frugal, but we've still got a nice mat there with that beautiful foiling on, like I say. Let's put that to the side, and I think that's all we need. So let's start assembling. Now for these pieces we will need to use a little bit of the super sticky tape. You probably would get away with just using normal glues, but it just means that there might be a little bit that flaps here, because obviously that piece wouldn't have that bit of glue on. But again, I'm just going to do, and I've only put a little bit on because I am going to use my normal glues on this other piece here. So we are going to have some adhesion there. So tacky glue, going back to my all-purpose glue. You know, it's one of my favourites, although I do know it is harder to get hold of here in the UK at the moment. Used to be super easy. I don't know what's going on. Crafter's Companion introduced me to it. But I know their stock levels on everything really has been a bit uppy downy, hasn't it? So from what I'm reading, I'm going to do the same on this side here. So just put that little tab in. Let's use this one, burnish. So I'm just curling it up a little, burnishing it down so it should stay that way. Oops, throwing my glues around. I'm hoping to get back to some extra crafting now that I'm feeling a lot better, and also we haven't got any design team work, so perfect opportunity to work through bits and pieces that I have left over and add them in onto my Pinterest. That's that there. And then if I come in with my normal glues on the inside, and then we'll go back to that front. Yeah, so all the extra bits, I've still got a load left over from the free kit we just had, the men's one. And I haven't worked through any of the bits I've left over on this kit so far, but I will do. So you will see things getting added in. I have to do a big sort out because I've got cards everywhere at the moment. So I'm going to sort out a box for charity. Actually, once I get those collected and sent off, I always tend to feel really quite inspired because you're not tripping over other things. So oh, that's not very straight, is it? Oh, it's the actual layer. See, I can see how that's on the wonk. So what I'm going to do is just carefully take that off. Okay, I think I should be able to just cut another piece, and I think it is actually that layer that it was rather than, I wonder if that's that bit part I used. Let's do what I should have done in the first place. Okay, let's cut this to, so it was 1.5 minus 2 notches by 2 notches under the 5. And let me just pop this on here. We'll use this as the so that is right. Let's just check. So I'm hoping it's not that underneath layer. So I can just pop that on. Yeah, that's fine. So that piece of sticky came off, so that's perfect. And this will all be hidden underneath, so I'm not going to worry about it at all, but we're just going to repeat that. So I don't know. Like I say, I think that must have been that piece that I pulled out of a bit box. Maybe it was not quite straight on one side. Yeah, so just my Pinterest, hopefully sometimes on my Facebook. I have got Instagram. I really do need to be using that a little bit more. Okay, so there we go. There we are. That's better. I'm just going to straighten that out just because I can see that's curling a little bit, probably because that gold was a little bit curly as well, but once we get everything on it should settle down. But now we are back to normal cardstock. I don't need to worry about red liner tape anymore. And I'm going to pop this foiled piece at the top and this printed piece at the bottom. Into the bin. Normally I do keep them for punching, but I have got quite a few smaller pieces. But that's how that card has come together. Okay, so now let's bring in the topper, which is this beautiful big cow, and I think I'm going to go with maybe a just to say down here. Yeah, I think that's going to be where we're going. Okay. And what I'm going to do is use some 2mm foam pads. And I should be able to just get a row along the bottom. And I'm going to put plenty on. I will put one in the middle and hide it on the inside. maybe with our little piggy topper. That's just going to be to connect it to that acetate. Oops, put those down me. So much for staying tidy. Now I am going to use a little bit of purple glue on the top and the bottom. There's no point putting it where the acetate is going to go because when that sticks it's going to be stuck. But if I can try and keep that a little bit elevated until I'm happy with where that needs to be. Just put my card nice and straight. And you could go a little to the left, a little to the right if you prefer. But I think we are just about there. So you can see there's just that one. And then I'm going to pop a foam pad. These are both 2mm, so I'm going to raise this up really nicely. And I'm just going to pop that one onto there, and then just to finish, just in this corner here, I'm going to go with just a tiny spray. And I'm going to do 5 in this tiny space. We're using the tiniest ones. Let's pop those there. Okay, let's pop. I mean, you could come with one up in that other corner if you want to. Oops. Come on. Turn over. There we go. And that glue does dry clear, so it will be perfect. But that is going to be card number 1 with our little sort of cutaway section. You can see now, oh, I haven't finished, I'm lying because I need to put that piece in the middle. You can see it has stabilized it a lot more, especially having that foam pad in the middle. What I'm going to do is just take this little piggy button topper. You could use you could just cut a circle if you wanted to. What I'm going to do, just carefully, and I'm putting it the way up that when you open it you're going to see it the right orientation. You could use your other glue tape pen if you want to. That now is that card finished. So that is card number 1. And I'm just going to get it set up for card number 2. Okay, so for card number 2, and this is a bit of an experiment, so I'm not sure if you're going to see this or not, but you won't know if you don't. But anyway, this is just a piece of that A4 cardstock. And I'm going to just take that, actually, just to clear up some space on my desk. And I'm going to cut that to 6 by 6. Okay, so those will go into the bit box. This is the piece for my card. And then this leftover acetate, I'm going to cut that to 6. Obviously keep that, that's too pretty. And I want it to be by 6.5. Again, we will keep that piece there. Now with it at 6.5, what I'm going to do, so 6.5 along the top end, I'm going to pop this in and cut this down to 5 inches. So I've got an inch on this side, and cut that to 5. And then I'm going to turn this around, so now we're on the silver side. So the last size was on the gold, and I'm going to do the same again. So cut 1 inch along and down to the 5. So we should have a piece now that looks like this. Now at this point, what I'm going to do is, should we do it on this trimmer just to make it easier? I think we will. I'm going to pop that in at the 6 inches, and I'm going to put a score line in, because this piece here is going to be the tab that connects it to my card. And now that score line's in, what I can do is pop this corner to corner, and what I'm going to do is just cut to my cut line. So just going super gently. I could feel it when it went. And then if I keep that in place, yeah, you can feel when it actually comes away. Again, keep those pieces, you never know when you might need those, but you're going to end up with a piece that looks like this. So far so good. And then if I bring this back in, what I can do is just reinforce that score line and fold that over. Now it doesn't matter that this is coming over the top of here, because that's going to go onto the back of my card, and we're going to be hiding that anyway. And actually I prefer to have it there and sticking to my card, holding the thing together. But this is going to make a pretty version of the sort of cutaway card that I do. But let's get this stuck on. So red liner tape again, obviously with the acetate it is your best friend. And you can do this 2 ways. I'm going to be sticking it down this way so that I can hide this under all of my layers. But if you prefer, you could pop that on the inside and glue that to the back. You just would be able to see the glue. So I tend to try and hide everything if I can. So let's pop that onto there. We will need that again in a second. But I'm going to do the same as I did with my other pieces. We will bend that over. This is going to be quite crucial to get this on nice and straight. What I'm going to do is line this up with the bottom of my card, make sure that is straight. You can see that's just popped off, but let's get that straight. Not easy because it is moving. Let's pop that down and then pull away, and then we've reconstituted our card. What I am going to do, I know I say it doesn't hold it, but I am just going to pop a little line of my tacky glue under there, and hopefully that will keep that edge down. But like I say, you can glue it onto the back if you prefer. I don't know why I put those scissors away, because I will need those in a second. So that is our card blank. So let's bring in a piece of 6x6 mirror mat, and I'm going to take 2 notches off 2 of those sides. And that will go onto the inside there. And I think I will use, I'm going to use this piece. So we'll cut this to 5 3/4. So we use the foils, we'll make it absolutely luxury, this card. So 5 3/4 square. Obviously we've got these pieces left over, which are nice and big. This is going to go onto the inside. Let's put that down for a second. There is some more cutting to do, but let's get this piece sorted first of all. Now I know normally I do put some on there, but in this case I'm not going to. I'm going to try and get away, because it's just such a narrow piece and it's on that inside. I'm just going to use my normal glues, but I will just put a layer of that tacky down that side. You can just pop that in. It's just because this piece is such a large area, I think it's going to be fine. I can always just pop a little piece under if I really need to. And again with my normal glues. Put that on and down. I think I might need a little clip or something, but we will do that in a second. So there's our piece that is going on. Now I am going to come to the topper next, which I am using that beautiful little pig. And I think we'll go with a happy birthday wish. Just going to go along the bottom there. Okay. Just wondering whether I want that there. I think I do. And in my head, this was going to be fine as it is, as this. But I think it does need something down here just to bring it in. So what I'm going to do is bring back in my trimmer. And I'm going to bring in a piece of gold mirror. Now what size is this? This is just an offcut. And I'm just going to take it to 3.5 by 3.5. And then I'm going to cut that straight down the middle diagonally. Let's see how that looks. Well, you could do the whole piece like I normally do with these, but I did want to try and keep as much of this beautiful acetate as I can. Okay, so then we want a piece that's going to be 3.25. That's not going to be big enough. Let's bring in one of the papers. So this bit was not planned because in my head this was going to be fine as it is. So these papers. I think I might bring in a little of this pink. So it was 3.5, so I'm going to cut a piece that's going to be 3.25. Obviously save any of those pieces. And you could do like I normally do, and not like I say, I normally do a big piece all the way down there, and then maybe just have this little piece as the see-through part. Okay, let's use that piece. And then we had that sentiment which was going up there. Then we could have our gems. Right, give me 2 seconds, guys. Okay, so slightly different plan. Like I say, these things do evolve slightly. I am going to bring in the other piece that I cut off, and I'm going to be using that as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, because I don't want anything to be seen on the underside, I'm going to be popping this, I'm going to be gluing this onto the front side. Now, do I want that to go right down to the bottom, or do I want that to come up a little bit? I think I do want that to come up a little bit. Maybe around about there. Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do is, because we are gluing onto that acetate, we are going to be using our red liner tape. This is when it could all go terribly wrong. But let's just pop these onto here. So I'm putting a nice amount on because I really don't want that to come off. And we're going to pop this off. I'm just thinking. Okay. So the way I'm going to do this is by popping this onto the inside of my card. I'm going to make sure that's as straight as I can get it. And then we're going to bring that across. Okay, and I'm going to do the same on this side. Again, not going too close to the edges because, like I have done there, because they are going to be visible with my layers on top. Making a right old hash of this. Come on. There we go. Gotcha. That's that one. And a little piece across the bottom there. Now this one I will have to be a little bit more careful with. But the way I'm going to do this one, if I can get those to leave me alone. So I'm going to turn it the wrong way around, and because I want this to go in this corner up here, I'm going to pop that on and hope for the best. So it looks super messy, so it's just a little bit of red liner tape there. I'm not quite sure why. It's just the liner piece. And it's loose, so it's not stuck to anything. There we go, we got it. We had it. There we go. So as you can see, just a tiny little piece. So it looks messy now, doesn't it? Right, I'm not going to use the red liner tape for this next part. I am going to use my dotty tape pen, which will stick to this acetate quite nicely. Again, I just want to be a little bit careful, and it is harder to see because obviously we've got that gold foil in. But we're just going to pop onto there. So this is turning into more of a, we've run out of tape, bear with me. So I've just grabbed a replacement. Pop that in, pop that down, and work this again. Just making sure I get onto those ends so I can go into the bin. And I knew I had to replace that, so I don't know why I didn't have that ready. Apologies, guys. So again, going on with the dots, though, you do get that ability to just lift it a little. Now this is going to be great in a way because I had planned to do some mats and layers behind to hide the foam pads, but now I don't need to, because what I can do is just make sure I get those where they need to be. So if I put that way around, and we're going with 2mm. So 1, 2. I am going to come slightly up to this left hand side, although that might not work out. How do I just... Yes, I have. Okay, so let's just take that foam pad off. Just want it to be nice and neat on the underside. So I'm just going to use my glue eraser to take that bit of glue off. This is always the trickiest bit of a card, I think, especially with acetate, is trying to make sure nothing is seen, nothing gives the game away. So this one can have another one there. There we go. Right, try again, take 2. So this, just for a little bit of context of this card, I couldn't sleep last night, so 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm thinking about my video, and this is the idea that I came up with. So if it's not as well thought together, which it's not, I'll be honest with you, it's like I say, it's one of these fevered night dreams of the insomniac. And sometimes, actually, to be fair, I do get some good ideas when I can't sleep. Mostly I forget them though, that's the thing. But I know some people have a book by the bed and stuff, but I've got loads of books and loads of pens, and they never seem to be in the same place at the same time. But here we go. So let's pop this one in. I feel like it's come together okay. It's different from what I'd imagined, but that's usually what happens. But at least I don't need to pop anything on the inside to hide any of those workings. That's all neat. What you can do if you want to be able to write on here, obviously you can write on the back, but what you can do is cut a square, which I think is about 3.5. What's this across? No, let's not do it in centimetres, let's do it in inches. I would probably go for around about 3.25, do a gold mat round the corners, and then do 3 and 2 notches of any insert paper, and then pop that behind there so that that's hidden, and then you would still be able to write on the inside and you'd still get that lovely look on the card. Now I do feel like it does need some gems, and it would be lovely if I had some really nice orangey ones. Ooh. That's the first thing I pulled out, almost like fate. Okay, so let's come in with, so I'm bringing the orange from here, it's quite a predominant orange colour there. I'm just going to go with 3 on there, and I'm going to do 2 up here. Okay, that's going to be to finish. You could also come in with another little sub-sentiment down here if you've got auntie, uncle, brother, son. Any of the essential little book ones would work really beautifully in there. Let me just pop it back into my book box. What I am going to do is just go ahead and give that another little burnish down on the edge, and that will flatten it down quite nicely. But that is card number 2. Like I say, nice and neat. I may go in and put a little bit of glue behind there, that might bother me later on. But that's card number 2. Let me bring back in card number 1. So using those beautiful acetates. Now we do have quite a bit left on this, so we've got that whole piece of printed card left with that beautiful wavy borders on, and you could come in and do a wavy border on there if you wanted to. We've got our horse and our other cow. Still got the border, still got some sentiments there, and we've got lots of little pieces as well. Oh, and some more of those acetate pieces left over. So that's it for today. Hopefully you are having a great weekend, having some time to craft. If you are not one of our wonderful key workers that works at the weekend. But I will be back. There is another set left in this one, so we will be having another play with this one, and we'll see what comes out when I get that out, and we'll have a little play. But thank you so much for watching. As always, huge massive thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye.